I'm recording.
Nice.
Welcome to the podcast. Wow.
Hello and welcome to Grasstouchers, where three guys in their 30s talk about being adults, but also enjoying video games quite a lot and trying to be productive members of society, despite our crippling addiction to digital entertainment. I am Jake.
I am Jared.
And I'm Greg.
Boys, how we doing? What we've been playing lately?
Greg, go for it.
Well, I've been playing a little bit of Siege with Jake and Jared, which has been cool.
Rock and roll, brother.
I was on a Elden Ring kick for a while, but I'm on a hiatus from that until the DLC is announced, which is supposed to be pretty soon.
Did you get that 100% run done?
I'm almost done. I'm waiting until the DLC is announced, and then I'm gonna cap it off and finish the 100% run right before that.
I guess that's a good idea, right? You would get to 100%, and then the DLC would get installed, and then it would be like 80%.
Yeah.
I gotta do more.
Move the goalposts.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but no, my, spoiler alert, my wife and I found out that she was pregnant recently, and so...
you did.
Yes,
you did
thank
it,
you, thank
ladies and
you.
gentlemen.
He did it, yeah.
He really did it.
Yes.
We're not going to tell you how.
Ask your mom.
But along with that comes a lot of, playing games with my wife. We've been playing a lot of Mario Party and stuff recently, and watching TV together and spending time with her and making her feel comfortable and not, she's been feeling pretty sick recently. So just, making her feel good, and that's kind of been my focus recently. So that's what I've been up to.
I love it. I've been playing, speaking of playing the Switch with family members, tonight and a couple of nights ago and a little bit before that, I don't remember. My boys have reawakened their passion for Switch sports. And my son beat me fair and friggin' square at bowling. Wow. It was Benson, our youngest boy's 5 years old, already beat me at video games. I was like, this is how I know.
The circle is complete.
I'm a
I was
Grasstoucher.
but the learner, now I am the master.
That's right.
Did you throw a
square,
fit
dude.
in the living room? You're like, this game is gay! I hate it!
I was so proud. I was like, dude, nice, you got a strike. That was so good. Like, I was pumping him up, And he had like 4 or 5 strikes, during the whole game. And in the 10th frame, one of the strikes happened, and he realized, I get to go again, And it was funny because Andrada, my wife, was just sitting on the couch right behind us and like cracking up the whole time. Every time he did a frame, better than I did. I was like, whose team are you? Come on, what is it? But that was awesome. And before that, I think one of the reasons they got turned back on to Switch Sports is because I started booting up that golf mini game on Switch Sports, which is really just a lot of fun. I don't know about you guys. I have very fond memories of Wii Golf back in the day.
Sure.
In my college dorm freshman year, staying up till 1 a.m, screaming, waking everybody else up. Oh my gosh, Wii Golf was my jam. Anyway, yeah, Siege with Deg. I've tried to get back into Star Citizen because they had this like convention thing, CitizenCon. If you guys aren't familiar, Star Citizen is this game that's been in development for 120 million years, and it's never going to come out, and I'm glad for enjoying it even a little bit. But it's a space game, and I'm a space enjoyer, as we have said in the past, right? Like, I'm just a sucker for anything in space, and it's so well produced. There's all this money behind it, and some of that money is mine.
Very ambitious.
Because it is super ambitious. And so what they announced recently is that Squadron 42, which is the single-player version of the whole universe, is feature complete. Now, what that really means is they have built all the assets and all the stuff and the missions, and it's playable-ish for the devs.
Right.
It's still I have no high hopes about when it's going to come out.
Right.
But that has reawakened my interest in that game because now that it's feature complete, they're starting to push more people to developing the open world, which is live. You can play it right now, but it's an alpha and it's trash.
Yeah.
Every time I boot it up, I just quit at the first bug. I'm like,
Nice.
nope, not worth it. I'm not gonna fight it. I'm just gonna go play Siege or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Play
Siege,
go
man,
play a very good game like Siege. I roll.
Yeah, yeah, right. Instead of getting my head bang against the wall by a bunch of bugs, I will get thrashed by children on the internet while I'm trying to play Siege.
Great
solution. It's a great trade-off, I know. We have had some success here on Siege lately, though. I can't talk too much crap. We've been doing pretty good. When the three of us get on, game over. It's freaking awesome. Yeah. So that's what I've been up to. How about you, Jared?
No, and I don't hate Siege as much as I let on. I think I like to. It's my punching bag game, just because it's got so many things that are like obviously wrong with it, like the launcher and like we joke all the time. It takes like 10 minutes to boot that game up. It's like, why? But anyways, lately I've been playing a lot of older games. I've been playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on my Steam Deck, which is
New Age of Heroes.
That's right, dude. Hey, Greg, are you familiar with that one?
Oh, dude, I used to play that game on the Sega Dreamcast.
Dude,
where
that
it originally came out.
Wild to hear. That's not a game that a lot of people. I mean, it's a very popular game, but it's still one of those games that like the mainstream crowd never really latched onto it. But that's awesome that you played that. So I'm playing that on the Steam Deck. I've been playing. I beat it. You guys ever hear of Advanced Wars?
I love Advanced Wars.
Yeah,
dude.
I beat Advanced Wars, the first one on my Miu Mini, and that was a good time. I'm like part of the way, marching my way through the second one right now. And then
was the second one the one that released on DS?
No, that was Dual Strike, which I am gonna play after the second one.
That's right. That's right. Okay.
The second
I'm trying to remember
pretty accurate to the first.
My entry point was Advance Wars 2 then on the Game Boy Advance. But I think I played it on a DS because that's what I had at the time. And I picked it up. And it's such a great little strategy game. Like, oh my gosh.
is.
So, like, it's simple-ish, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just this kind of chess thing, and you move the pieces around. I freaking love that game.
And it's so satisfying to wipe people off the board. Like, I just beat the first one. I'm playing through the second one, and I'm, like, still satisfied when I go in. I'm just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kick these guys off the planet here.
Yeah.
So are you are you emulating that game? Because it's originally like a GBA game, right?
Yeah. Here, I'll show you. I mean, I guess we can get into that when we talk about the handhelds, but I could show you guys sort of some of the ones I'm working with right now, and I'm using to play those. And then outside of that, there's a game for a mobile game, which I know is an evil word amongst the gaming community because mobile games are cash grab. The developers do as little as possible, try to make as much as possible, which is business in general, I think.
I'm a sucker for them sometimes. I get
sure.
it.
This one, actually, I have played a lot of mobile games in my life, and I mean a lot. There was the past few years, I have actually probably the past 5 or 6 years, I would get into rhythms where I would like download a new game and try to get into it and dump it, and I would download 4 at a time. It's just, this one is actually a great game. It is, in some ways, it's a money grab, but it's a really solid game. It's called Marvel Contest of Champions, and it's one I've played for years, and I continue to play because it's actually really good. So,
nice.
Yeah, kind of all over the map, but it's what I've been up to.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Tell me more about these handhelds. I didn't really. You said it's something Neo. What'd you say?
My Miu Mini, and I'll grab it and show it to you guys.
Miu Mini, excuse me.
Yeah.
Clearly, I'm uninformed.
Come on, dude. Don't embarrass yourself. We're talking about Chinese technology. No, this thing is awesome. I love this thing. I'm showing them on our webcam to the pod.
Yeah, dude.
It's tiny. Okay, I have a few handhelds, but this is kind of like, there's Advanced Wars 2. The use case for this is like, put it in my pocket, take it with me, play it for 15 minutes in between appointments or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
this particular model of handheld is a little bit brittle, so I have like
Mm.
a little case for it. But it's great. It plays all the way up to PlayStation 1, and
Dang.
it's honestly really rad. The screen's pretty nice. The buttons are good, and it's got little shoulder buttons on the back. Little
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, I've enjoyed that one a lot. I took it with me to Flagstaff, and I played a bunch of. There's this PS1 game called Rival Schools. It's a fighter,
Hmm.
one of an early Capcom 3D fighter, which they kind of steered away from with Street Fighter as things progressed. But yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot. It's really cool.
That's sweet, dude. Well, let's get into the whole handhelds thing, because I just ordered myself one of those OLED Steam Decks, and
Oh
I know that
yes.
that's I'm late to the party, but I'm actually right on time, because it's like the people that waited starting to feel pretty good when that OLED got announced. It's like, it's got
Yeah.
a more efficient processor. Oh, it's
Yeah.
got bigger battery. Oh, it's just a tiny bit lighter. Oh, and it's got some improvements to the right to repair kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I was a sucker immediately. I
Yeah.
almost sprung for the limited edition, but on the day of ordering it, I was like panicking and refreshing because the store was
Right.
broken, and I was like, "This is my Christmas gift to myself.
Yeah.
How do I figure this out?" And it just made more sense. So I went with the 512 gig, like just sort of the low model of the OLEDs, because there's no functional
Right.
or performance like difference.
Right.
And 550 was a pretty sweet spot for me, pulling that off. So how you got a Steam Deck like way early in the game, didn't you?
I got a Steam Deck like pretty much right as they became like readily available. I was on a list for a while, and I was kind of like on the
Right.
last,
The
last
supply
limited
the
wave.
supply was like super bad.
Right. Um, and I love my Steam Deck. It's a powerhouse. It's an emulation powerhouse too. If you want to play games, you
Mhm.
can play up to like some PS3. Um, like it plays pretty much all GameCube, PS2 pretty well, and everything below that. Extremely powerful for what you're getting, and more than I think we would have imagined, 10 years ago. But about the OLED, so I
Tell
got a
me.
funny story. So the night before the OLED came out, my friend Jake says, "I think I'm gonna get a Steam Deck," and I'm like, "That's awesome. You should get a Steam Deck because I have one and they're sick, and I think you'd really enjoy it." For all the reasons, people actually underestimate how awesome it is to just sit on your bed and play a game. Like, it's pretty great.
Yeah, dude.
So I'm excited for you to get that. But I was, in my mind, I'm going, okay, so he's going for the LE. I know, as somebody who recently has purchased analog pockets, I don't know if you guys know what the analog pocket is.
I feel like I've heard about that.
I'll talk about that in just a second. I go, in my mind, I'm going, he has to work tomorrow. There's no way he's going to get one. I didn't say that to you because I was like, maybe, whatever. I'm not going to, like, curse here. But I was like, there's no way he's going to get one. So I'll wake up and I'll try and get one. And if he manages to get one too, I'll just... And I'm not balling. I wasn't going to, like... I was going to be like, hey, if you want, like, you can... I'll give this to you the same, at cost, whatever. I'll ship it to you. And so I wake up and I am... on that, it was the whole system just completely went down.
It was atrocious.
It was
Crashed
it was
immediately.
awful, and I was
Yeah.
refreshing on my computer and texting my dad, who I work with. I was like, I'll be there in a minute, and it wouldn't work, and so I get in my car and I'm driving and I'm refreshing and I'm trying and I'm trying.
Oh, Jared.
and I finally, right as I get it to the shop, I get in there and I'm just like hitting the button, because at that point I had already gotten the "you've tried too many purchases, try again in a while," in this very vague term, and I'm like, and I'm looking at the subreddit, people are like, "This is gay, this sucks, that I can't buy anything," and I get to the shop and I manage to get one, and I'm like so satisfied with myself. So I'm like, if Jake gets one and he doesn't want it, I'll just flip it, because these things are always in demand, and I'll just sell it online, whatever. I'll make my money back.
Yeah.
And then the day kind of progressed, and I noticed that Valve was they boomed us, dude. They were hip to to the scarcity thing and the hype thing. They're trying to counteract that by just like making way more of what most companies do, I guess. And it turned out that they just like weren't limited at all. And I was like, there's no way Jake didn't get one at this point.
Yeah.
So luckily, I got a refund on that because I already have a Steam Deck. I don't need an $800, or $700 OLED.
Well, you're such what a sweetheart, ladies and gentlemen. This is
Funny,
what
though.
friends do for each other. That's very kind of you. I appreciate it. I am ultimately satisfied that I got the one that I got because it costs a little bit less money and like whatever. But yeah, I know that is something that Valve like. I don't think anybody would be surprised that it was impossible to deal with the demand. A bunch of people trying to get the thing because they were probably thinking, like you and I both did, hey, when these first came out, it was freaking impossible to get on. Well, it wasn't hard to get on the list, I should say. It was taking forever to actually get it.
Right.
And so people didn't exactly have faith in them to have the supply that would be needed. Christmas is coming, like, it made sense to sort of have this frenzy. Mm-hmm. Nobody was surprised by there being a frenzy, and their website just couldn't handle it. But it's funny that they weren't actually low on supply. It's a good thing. I like that.
Yeah,
As a company, like, I want you to have the product that you claim to have.
Right.
But good on you. I appreciate the effort regardless. And you just refunded it, you said?
I refunded it. Valve's very good. And I told them, I told the truth. I was like, I was buying this for somebody who managed to get one on their own. So, and they refunded me within like 10 minutes or something. But,
nice. There you go.
Yeah, it was pretty harrowing for a while there. I was like, it doesn't seem like anybody's getting them. And then all of a sudden there was like a bajillion of them. And and that was because I buy shoes, I buy sneakers.
That's right.
I buy stuff off of drops from clothing stores that sell out literally in minutes. Boom, they're just gone. So I was like thinking that this is going to be the same situation. I'm like, he's gonna be working. There's no way he's gonna be able to pull this off. And then, sure enough,
you underestimated my commitment to take a late lunch and sit at my computer and refresh. Yeah, I pulled it off. It was all right. So here's the thing. I'm thinking in my head. I'm already very excited. I've made up my mind that I'm gonna open it as soon as it gets here, and who cares because I'm an adult. Yeah. But also, I'm gonna wrap it on Christmas Eve and open it on Christmas morning so that everybody can see, like, hey, look, I got something for Christmas. I'm so interested to see like what it's like to have a big boy handheld because I did a lot of shopping around before I pulled the trigger on this thing. I've looked at the ROG Ally. I've looked at the Lenovo Legion Go.
Yeah, Odin.
And I think it's Ioneo is another company that makes like handhelds out of China. Some of those are actually they really are very good, but I just couldn't convince myself to get one of those. And I already have a Switch, and I know that the upside of the Switch is that it has all this first party sort of like, you want to play Zelda, you better get a Switch. Like there's only so many things until you go to emulate it down the road, right? But I just thought to myself, I think this is going to be a really great way for me to like be on the couch or be in the bed or be on the road or be somewhere and engage with this hobby that we like so much, right? I think this is kind of the main crux of Grasstouchers is like we don't have time. And so if I get a device and this platform enables me to find time, I think it'll be nice. I'm gonna have to probably watch myself a little bit, make sure I'm not on it all the time. Right. It'll be cool because I have this. This is the other thing. I have a Steam library, like a lot of people that have a computer that they play games on. I have a rockin' Steam library, and I feel like because I can now play this on a controller, on a screen, on the couch, it's just gonna be like Christmas all over again, right? Over 100 freaking games. I'm thinking about like the Mass Effect, Legendary Edition. I can play all the Mass Effect games sitting there right on my, Steam Deck. I can play, any number of the old, like I have Rainbow Six Vegas. I don't know if you guys remember the Vegas series of the Rainbow Six games. I have a bunch of stuff on Steam that like, oh man, this will be sick. I don't know that they'll all be like optimized or whatever, but Greg, sorry we kind of left you out of this whole thing. Greg, do you play your Switch just like in handheld mode at all? Is that a thing you enjoy at all?
The whole time you guys have been talking, I've been thinking about like what my handheld experience has been, and I think back to, I grew up. My first console ever was Super Nintendo in like 1993 or 1994. That was like the first console I ever had, and the first handheld. I had like a. not the original Game Boy, but I had a Game Boy Color. Was like the first handheld console I had was like Pokemon Blue, you know.
Yeah.
But really the first handheld console I remember spending a lot of time with was the Game Boy Advance and the Game Boy Advance SP. Were like the things that I played a lot. I played a lot of Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and then around the time of the Game Boy Advance and SP, they like remastered Link to the Past for Game Boy Advance and stuff, and super into that. But I haven't had a lot of handheld. I mean, I have a Switch, and I like my Switch. It's fun, you know. I mean, in all its 30 FPS glory, you know. It's,
I know, right?
But it's one of those things. It's like you said, you know, there's like this unsaid agreement you enter in with Nintendo when you get a Switch, where it's like, if you're like a real gamer, man, like you don't, you know, the Switch is like a fun thing you do, right? Like it's not like the gaming experience, man. You know,
if you want to have fun, get a Switch. If you want to be miserable and play Siege and Tarkov on PC,
you want to scream at your screen.
But I will say this, you know, some of the most fun gaming experiences I have are with my wife playing Mario Party. You know, like,
no doubt.
I love doing that. And the probably other than Elden Ring, the single best gaming experience I've had this year was playing Zelda Tears of the Kingdom on Switch.
I remember you told me all that. I bounced off of that one and didn't even buy it, but I know you really enjoyed that and got some serious hours logged on it.
Yeah, which sweet. For a Grasstoucher, you know, I put in 130 hours into that game in like a month and a half, and that's a lot.
Yeah,
for someone with a wife and a life, you know.
Yeah.
And so I love, you know, I'm interested in exploring the idea of like, you know, a handheld system, you know. I think the Switch in many ways nailed a lot of things like really, really well. But to answer your original question, no, I don't take my Switch with me. I only ever play it docked at home, you know. Nice. Yeah, thank you. I only ever play my Switch docked at home in my living room, and that's my experience with it.
Right.
I'm sure I would love to take it places and play, but yeah.
What criteria would it need to meet for you to, like, do you think that you would want a device to use remotely? Or is it just not something that interests you?
I think that I'll just give like the Zelda, like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, like the controls of that game. I'll just give this example, right? To me, the only way to comfortably play Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is when it's docked and you've got the Pro controller to where you can play it like it's a console game, right? Yeah. I've tried multiple times after Tears of the Kingdom came out. I tried to play it with the Switch like undocked, like mobile, and I was like, this sucks. Like it doesn't feel like
this
an
is
actual
something that I think,
you know, like
this is something that I think the community, as it were, and by the community I just mean people that have a Switch, is interesting. Like how people are kind of split on it. I have 2 kids, a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old. Our 6-year-old loves Minecraft because he's 6, and all kids do. And he's very much a Lego, let me build stuff, let me get my hands dirty like kid. And so I love the idea of him, you know, he'll watch like kids YouTube for a little while, and then he'll really want to go grab the Switch and go build the thing he saw somebody else build. And he's really smart. I love seeing him kind of develop along this pathway of like engaging with electronics responsibly and enjoying video games, and like I'm all about it, right? And when he could sit there, the battery dies before his desire to play the game dies. Like he will sit there with the Switch like this in his bed and curled up in weird positions because he's not, you know, 33 with rapidly deteriorating muscular skeletal issues. There's a thing about being a kid where like you can crane your neck for forever and it doesn't matter.
Right.
Your hands can be in like an uncomfortable position, but it doesn't matter. And so
you guys remember this?
I think Yeah, dude. The first. Oh, do I?
At Walmart?
I have the fondest memories of Walmart. Xbox 360 had just launched, and you could not buy one to save your life. And then Call of Duty, and like looking up at it like that. I also remember Circuit City. The PS3 had just come out. Armored Core, 4 or something. I don't know, was out, and I was like, this is so cool. Kids don't care about ergonomics because they will figure it out because they want to play the freaking game, and it's not something they're going to think about generally. I think about ergonomics a lot. I think it has to do with my career being in like software design. I think about UI UX a lot more than I ever have in the past. And when I engage with a new device or a new app or a new website, I'm just critiquing it in my head constantly. And with handhelds, especially this being a V2 of the Steam Deck, I'm like, see, they fixed some things. I heard the joysticks are better. There's all this stuff that's better. And I think that's what sealed the deal because I, like you, Greg, I remember a Game Boy. Let's see. If I go through my whole handheld history, I got a Nintendo 64 was my first console when I was like 10 years old for my birthday. And my dad had gotten deployed to Korea when he was in the Air Force. And when he was in Korea for a whole year, when he came back, he brought gifts that were purchased at much, much lower cost because of the conversion rate. South Korean won was like absolutely wonderfully compatible with the dollar at that time. He came home with the OG Game Boy. That was like the game man. It was huge.
Yeah.
I got my hands on that and I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I played Tetris and Joust and like these old school games. And then I can't remember if it was him going on another trip or if it was a gift. I had a Game Boy Pocket, which was not color and it was not backlit. It was just smaller.
Yeah, just smaller.
And I thought that was sick. And I played Pokemon Red was my first Pokemon. And then I got a Game Boy Advance SP. I skipped the Advance. I can't remember. I feel like I saved some allowance or something. And the SP, dude, what a freaking thing! That was like foldable, like all the phones were foldable.
Backlit.
The fact that it was backlit, you didn't have the little dongle.
Did you have
little lights?
Did you have the magnifier one for the original Game Boy? Oh my gosh!
No.
It was this giant fold-out thing. Crazy.
I had seen them. I had the little squiggly worm LED light that you plug into the charging port at the top.
That's what I had too, yeah.
Yeah. So I got an SP. I think I saved up some allowance money and I played all my previous games on that and also went into like Metroid Fusion and I played
dude. Man after my heart right now. Metroid Fusion and Metroid Zero Mission. Oh my god.
Yeah. So I got through a bunch of Game Boy Advance games, including Advance Wars 2. And then I got a DS Lite, I think. And then not that long ago, as a married man, I bought, because I saw it used at GameStop on a whim, the limited edition Zelda DS, dude. It's like pretty sick. And it still boots up. What just fell out of it? Fell out of it.
Apart.
Oh, I know what it is. This little rubber cover. You know how the joystick is like a sliding joystick and not a tilting joystick? This little rubber cover comes off. Anyway, other than that, it works great. It's a 3DS, and I can play like. They don't come out on the DS anymore. I think the DS is kind of defunct, I suppose. But I played a bunch of Pokemon games on this. The fact that I could play, a Game Boy Advance game on a DS. Not this one actually. This limited edition one was like the advanced one that doesn't take GBA cartridges anymore. But anyway, and then the other interaction that I had with handhelds was my wife. I have my original Game Boy Advance SP, and I gave it to her for Christmas, along with Pokemon Blue. One day she was playing Pokemon Go. I don't know if you guys remember when that came out. It was like a big deal. People were obsessed with it, and my wife was one of those people. I played with her a little bit, but she mostly played it more than I did. And I was like, you want to play a real Pokemon game? I was like red pilling my wife about her enjoyment of Pokemon. And I said, you know what you need to do, honey? You need to play through all the OG Pokemon games. She's like, you know what? Bring it on. Let's do it.
Very cool.
How do we do that? And I said, well, either we emulate it on some bogus laptop I buy you, and I really don't want to go through the trouble.
Right.
Or I go find, I don't know, a Game Boy Color and like go from there. So fast forward to moving to North Carolina a few years ago. I'm at my parents' house with my brother, and he goes, dude, you want to see something? And I was like, yeah, sure. What? This is our house. Like, how can you surprise me? Like, he opens up this chest that he has in his room, and he pulls out his old Game Boy Advance SP, my old SP, all of the games we ever got for either of them, and like all this retro stuff that I didn't know he was hanging on to. A GameCube, and like our little case that had all the GameCube games. I was like, dude, you've been hanging on to all this stuff? Like,
No,
how did you not get? I would have got rid of it because I'm just not that sentimental. He's like, come on, it's me. And I was like, okay.
Right.
So I asked my wife a series of questions. I said, red or blue? She didn't know what I was asking.
Yeah.
She's like, blue. I said, okay. Gold or silver? Gold. Nah, silver. Let's go silver. Okay, cool. Ruby or sapphire? And I just like went through all the Pokemon generations, and she didn't know that she was choosing a Pokemon game with each question. And so every year for Christmas, I've been buying her the newest one. I think we skipped last year. I think she would have been on like Diamond or Pearl, and she would have had to borrow my DS. But anyway, huge fond memories of, you know, blindly following my mom through the grocery store like this with my SP, you know, and like trying not to run into the watermelon aisle or whatever. I think handhelds are a really special part of our heritage. People approximately our age, right? Our video game kind of trajectory.
Well, and I will say, like, Jake probably knows this. When I lived in Japan in 2014, I bought because at the time you could not have like a cell phone in Japan, like with an American cell phone plan. Like I could not play mobile games over there really on my phone.
Yeah, you would have had to had some kind of really wacky roaming, I don't know, something plan, right? If that was ever going to work.
Yeah, this is like almost 10 years ago, and so I bought a 3DS XL before I moved there, which was turned out to be like a really good decision, and got several games with it, and of course it's backwards compatible with all the other, you know, with the original DS games. So I got like, Heart Gold, Pokemon Heart Gold.
Yeah, that was a great one for sure.
Which is actually like a super rare game now. I actually have to pay a lot of money to actually get the game now. But yeah, a lot of fun memories playing mobile games. So.
There's a store in Greensboro, which is where Greg and I both went to college. They do Lost Ark, I think is the name of it. They will do Pokemon cartridge battery replacements because you know the individual cartridges have their own batteries to keep track of time. And when they die, you could like lose everything. And so they do, you know, this like crack it open, replace it. I don't know how complex that is. Maybe it's easy to do, but I've had to consider going there if my wife is going to keep playing Pokemon. I was like, I bought this used, honey. I don't know how many more miles this thing's going to last, you know. Right. Sure. But that's good stuff, guys. Well, that's what a blast from the past to go through all that stuff. I think that's that Steam Deck, man, can't get here quick enough. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I think you're really going to enjoy it.
And actually, just real quick before we move on, in terms of handhelds, I brought up the Analog Pocket earlier. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's kind of your speed, Jake, and probably yours too, Greg. If you love handhelds as much as it sounds like you do, they so there's plenty of emulation handhelds out there already, but the Analog Pocket is actually, they use something called FPGA, and they basically say it's because things are usually hard. They're emulation on the software level. You know, the hardware is usually all proprietary and then just mimics and is powerful enough to emulate. And this is essentially emulation on a hardware level. It's this really clean, sleek device. It looks like it's got the form factor of like a Game Boy Color, except it's got 4 buttons. Obviously, the screen is like banging, backlit.
I'm looking at it online right now. It says that the screen resolution is 1600 by 1440.
Yeah, it's this
That's
little
sick.
It's insane.
I had no idea.
And they so you can play carts in. You can play cartridges in it for true you know, emulation, if you want to call it that. And then they recently released a bunch of cores where you can emulate on there too. You don't even have to have the carts. And it is a premium product. It's not like a lot of it is just like for people who are hardcore about the hobby or who are just, you know. I own a few of them. I haven't opened them. I still have them in the case. About a month ago, they released limited edition transparent devices. So I snagged
Love
it.
it.
I snagged a green and a blue.
That's
And,
half the reason I really wanted that's why I wanted the limited edition Steam Deck.
Right,
I was like,
right. It's
I don't know
dope.
what it is. That sort of like Mad Catz third-party controller
Right.
look of like, but what if you could see inside?
Whoa,
It's like so
right,
cool.
right. And then today they actually released and keep in mind these devices typically for the transparent ones and then every drop before that they sell out in 5 minutes and everybody's pissed. But I managed to get those two, and then actually this morning she's in the room. I don't want to say it too loud. They released some limited edition flat colored ones, and I snagged her a pink one. I'm gonna kind of do the Jake Phillips approach, probably make her play some old games.
Dude, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be cool. Hopefully she.
I don't know why I'm whispering because I'm in your ears. She can't hear me. That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. So I'm excited about that, and I'm also gay. No, I'm just kidding. I don't want her to hear
all these
that.
big announcements. I'm like, oh no. Oh, that's so good, dude. Well, I will keep my eyes out for those drops, not because I'm gonna get one like for real, but
Look
now
into
that
it though.
I
It's cool.
Right, now that I've heard more from the horse's mouth here as a mobile device enjoyer, I would definitely be
It
down.
would
There's
also go
such
nicely in your cool, sleek tech guy room that you have there too. I'm serious.
I
The aesthetic
know.
is very you.
Well, I appreciate that. You guys see the if you want to get really nerdy, I have
Nice.
this that I built. Have I shown you guys this? I feel like I've shown you this, Jared, when you visited. Maybe no, I didn't. Show
I don't
you?
think that was there.
So this was my project, my final project for my associate's degree at Handhelds Community College.
Nice.
I think the cardboard really sets off the community college vibe. You have to have a USB A to USB B cable, and I got rid of my last one when I sold this thing I don't use anymore. So I can actually turn it on for you. But it's like a little synth. This is a
Nice.
1 octave scale in F major. And it was meant to be like a prototype of something that you could pass out in a general music class to teach kids really, really basic music
that's
theory. So it's
cool,
like
dude.
the first scale degree, third and fifth. So you could do a chord, and then there's like this other stuff. And it has a little game, and the game loads up on this LCD screen where it'll like play a pitch, and you have to guess what it is and develop relative pitch
that's cool.
skills. And then
Dang,
you can
dude.
see on the inside here where I have all the I soldered everything that's like in there.
Nice.
It's like an actual board in there. Yeah.
That's awesome.
This is why when I had to build this when I was studying computer engineering, I thought to myself, if I ever do get into more handheld stuff, or if I have a little shop or a little lab at some point and I want to get my kids into this little basic electrical engineering, like here's a battery, here's a resistor, here's a LED, let's make this light up. It's really simple stuff, but I really enjoyed it. I felt like a kid every day I went to school. I was like, ooh, what are we building today?
Right. That's cool, man.
But it's actually really, really dope. And then you see something like the Analog Pocket or the Steam Deck or a Switch even, and you're like, well, that's pretty cool how they tucked all that in there.
It's Chinese,
Anyway,
man.
yeah, that's right. Hey, speaking of fun and not having any, Siege.
I'm following.
This past weekend, again, as we've said, we like to rag on Siege, but it's a game that has brought us a lot of fond memories, a lot of good times, a lot of late nights. I think especially during COVID, Deg, remember you and me and Phil, and occasionally Jared, if I remember correctly, we were all playing freaking Siege, and it was like, oh, it was so good.
Yeah, that guy hated me.
Rainbow Six. Yeah. Rainbow Six Siege recently had a major tournament in Atlanta. I remember when they first announced it, Greg, I think I texted you. I was like, dude, what if we made a road trip to Atlanta together? It was like, I do want to go to one of those one day. I think it'd be really cool.
The best laid of plans.
That's right. That's right. There was recently a major tournament in the esports scene for Siege. The team W7M won the whole thing, and there are so many clips, you guys, of just phenomenal, incredible 1,000 IQ, just like these plays that you watch. I'll go find one real quick that Macy J retweeted or
Macy
re-X'd,
Gray?
or Macy J. No, not Macy Gray. That would be sick if
I
Macy Gray
love
turned out to be a gamer, dude.
I love Siege.
Can you imagine? Let's see if I can find one. I think
Every time I hear Macy Gray, I think of that scene where she sang in the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I'm talking about? Like,
Yeah. I
just
think
started
also,
sharing my screen. You check it
yeah,
out.
I'm with it.
So we'll do a couple things on this feed. There was a specific video that he posted. Get a load of this. So this Azami play, right? So these guys, I'm going to back up to the beginning.
Oh my gosh.
So that was probably really loud. It was really loud in my ears. Sorry if that was loud for you. So this guy playing Azami had so many barricades in his pocket still that they let them get away with the plant, and then they killed the one blitz that was in, and there was guys outside, and they just stopped them with the Azami barricade, so they couldn't even get back in to do their own post-plant sort of play. They had Capitao. They were ready for the post-plant, but they actually couldn't do it because he beat them to it because he had the barricades in his pocket still. It was like,
that's so cool,
this
dude.
Play, big freaking brains, man. And there was another one.
This is the kind of stuff that actually makes me want to play this game. I always love seeing pro play because it's like, dang, I want to. Those are the moments.
And it's funny because like you'd be doing good to pull that off 1% of the time. Like you're not honestly going to be able to do it very often, but when you see it happen, the idea that this game makes it possible, right? Here's an EMP from below. So Solus can find where the diffuser is and track that person through walls, and they use the EMP as the attackers. They have the impact EMPs. They used that to stop Solus from tracking them down. So he had to stop and get off of his like visor gadget and had to go, and then so they forced him. That in the game that me and Greg played just a little while ago, this evening, we got hammered by Solus playing underneath us because we went to go plant, and they can just like throw an
we
impact
won
grenade.
Both rounds, by the way. I just want to point that out.
That's right.
Nice.
I just want to point out we still won, but Solus can track the diffuser no matter where it is, and any defender any attacker that is using an electronic device of any kind can detect that. So it's just like IQ, right? It's IQ but on defense. Has a visor they can pull up, and so the idea of like saving an impact EMP not for the primary purpose, which is to disable bandit batteries so that you can hard breach through a wall or disable something or other, using it to stop them from doing the thing that operator is best at. I don't think I've ever seen that. Like, what the heck? Wow. So freaking good.
That's awesome.
So I watched, the only coverage that I watched from the major was, I just watched the last round because I figure I could go find all these like after the fact, but I really just want to see the last one. And it was W7M against somebody I already forgot. The name of the team is Los. Like Los
Gatos.
Angeles? I don't know.
Los Pollos Hermanos.
Los Pollos Hermanos.
Yeah.
Los. Remember what that Mexican restaurant? We called it Los Bos for a while, Greg.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, so Los lost to W7M 3-1. They play like, I think you have to win 8 matches or win 8 rounds, and it flips back and forth, and then like that's the one map. You have to win 3 maps, and each team picks multiple maps. Anyway, it was riveting stuff. Really, really cool. And
awesome.
I don't know. It's part of what has brought me back into Siege lately is that major coming up, and then certainly after that, I was like, man, this game is so good. It's like it could get stale if you keep doing the same thing, but chances are you're going to get bored and try a new operator, and it's like a different game. Your role. Right. I love anything that's role based. If I'm going to bother playing online, I need to know that I have a job and I got to do that job. I love playing support. I love using cams. I love, giving intel if the team is, cooperative anyway. Trying to have decent call outs and stuff. But if you ever want to get impressed very quickly by some Siege play, check out the Atlanta Major. There's tons of clips floating around there. Like,
well, and to me, it speaks to a thing that these games as a service companies are doing recently, which is, we've all seen games that are, they were massively popular when they came out, right?
Right.
And then maybe they were popular for a while and then they faded out. And then you've seen other games that have been popular forever, like for years and years, and I think the companies that have figured out how to cater to the player base in a very positive way. And I think that Ubisoft has done that with like Siege. You know,
Right.
I think that there was I don't know, like Jake, there was like a year-long period where you and I did not play a lot of Siege because it just wasn't fun. You know,
Yeah.
Ubisoft was not really, catering to the player base in a positive way. But I think recently they've really kind of figured it out.
I think they really have. I think you can attribute that to a couple of things. Number one, the operators, right? This is a role-based, operator-based game. I don't love the lore of Rainbow Six Siege, but it's out there if you care to read about it. And you see these new operators come up, and they have a backstory, you know, and they have some sort of military service or like clandestine stuff that you can read about, and that I do kind of get off on. I love all that military stuff, but what's the most compelling about Siege right now is all the interplay. Easy for me to say. I've been playing the game since day one, so I still have it all rolling around in the back of my head, right? Like if something doesn't go my way in the match, I'm generally capable of understanding what occurred and what I would need to do different next time, because I played the game for long enough that I can kind of decipher, you know, the interactions between all the ops and the gadgets and the stuff. It's not only a gunfighting game, although that has been a huge part of the meta here lately. And I wonder sometimes if that was the problem when you and I weren't playing. I think we found that there was the skill ceiling for Siege is just infinite.
It's
you know,
very
if you have
high.
gun
Very
skill,
high.
if you have gun skill and you have a dependable 5-stack of guys that you always play together, and you keep coming up with ideas and ideas and ideas, and you all can shoot well and you all can react well and you all have map knowledge, like there's an incredible array of things that you can come up with over time as a team. Hence the esports. If you're the average dude like you and I, freaking Grasstouchers, we have to, you know, watch the occasional YouTube video, understand, oh, there was a patch recently and this gadget works differently now. I need to remember that when I go boot up the game. And sometimes you forget that stuff and it doesn't really matter because it's still the game that it is. It's still the engaging back and forth chess match going on. One of my favorite Siege creators said it really well once. He said, whether you're in a 5v1 and you're all by yourself and you're about to get hosed, or whether you're just entering the building and playing the match from a fresh start, you always want to give yourself an advantage. That can be in a variety of ways. It could be intel because you droned or you put a cam or somebody had a call out. That could be a gadget that forces somebody to move off of a spot. That could be kind of mind gaming, like peeking certain corners differently or finding a new angle you haven't tried before. But there's always something that you should be doing to give yourself an advantage. You can't just peek all the time. You know, you'll get shot in the face very quickly by these kids that never put the game down.
Yeah.
But it is a blast. Hey, speaking of blasts, I think in closing we have one more thing to talk about, and that is another game that is going to be great for esports one day, I hope. The Finals. The Finals is a game that had an open beta recently. There was a closed beta earlier this year that me and Jared played. Greg, I don't think you got to join me on that. Is that right?
I don't think so, yeah.
Yeah, it was just the open beta that we got you on there. I played the closed beta, absolutely madly in love with it immediately because, like Siege, there are roles to take on. They're much more flexible roles, to be clear. There's like 3 classes that you pick from. But it is depending on the mode you play, 3-on-3, or sometimes 3-on-3-on-3. There's like multiple teams. And the environments are quasi-procedurally generated, right? The map itself is the same. The building locations and bridges and like gaps between stuff, like that's all the same. But every round, there's a couple of parameters that will change, whether that's the weather or the time of day, or there's a couple of add-ons, like whether certain platforms are suspended in air or whether there's this like train thing levitating around going through the map, whether it's foggy, whether it's sunny, whether it's nighttime. And when we played this together, guys, I had such a friggin' blast. It was like even better than the last time I remember. There was a couple balance changes that seemed to make sense. There's a couple things that are still broken, and people will very quickly find them, right? People will quickly exploit like, what's the meta, what's the gun, what's the thing I need to do to be successful. But there's almost always a counter, and the destruction is the main kind of calling card, right, of this game. That all of the destruction is server side, and so from a technical perspective, that's a small miracle, right? Putting all this compute on some servers somewhere, handling destruction that everybody sees the same way. I don't know if you remember this, Deg, but in Siege, or Jared actually, in Siege at one time, smoke grenades and barricades and like certain parts of destruction, they were not all synchronized across the different clients. Some things were client side and some things were server side. So on your end, you thought you were covered by some smoke,
Right.
but according to the server, which passed that information to the next guy on his client,
Right.
he could see you plain as day, right? And
Right.
so that's been an issue in gaming for a long time, and this game is all server side, and you can literally level whole buildings. It's like super freaking cool. What were your guys' takeaways from that game? What'd you think?
Greg, thoughts?
I loved it. It was very fast paced. That was kind of my big takeaway. Like compared to a Siege or other first person shooters that we play, it just felt very fast paced. But I had a good time. I kind of felt like I was like hanging on by the hair of my chinny chin the entire time. And I think that's kind of the draw of the game. Is that it feels.
Oh, it's frenetic.
It's very frenetic. But I loved it, and I'm certainly interested in playing it more, and it was a good time.
What'd you think of the vibe, Greg, that was like it's called the finals because in ranked play, and I think there's unranked versions of this too, there's like, what is it, 8? Not 8, because there's 3 in each one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. 12 teams of 3, and then there's literally a tournament bracket, right, that sort of culminates, and there's these announcers, and it's all very hype, and there's these like fictitious in-game sponsors. Like, did you care for that at all? Does that plus or minus you at all, or do you just kind of not really care?
I think I was so caught up in just trying to like survive and like be as good as I possibly could be, and you'd be like, "I got you, Deg," and you'd like resurrect me or whatever, and I'd be like, I didn't even know I fucking died." It's so fast paced. I think I would just need to spend more time with the game to like really understand it. But I'm interested in doing that. Like, it was one of those things that like the gameplay loop of it like grabbed me like really, really well. I was like, okay, like I could have fun doing this,
Yeah, I think the objective based play, some people don't even play the objective, obviously, welcome to video games, but the objective based play where you have to grab this box and put it in a thing and like cash it in, is pretty cool. And all the finals kind of vibey tournament stuff I think is interesting. What did you think, Jared? What were your takeaways? Yeah,
I like it a lot. I really do, more than I expected. I think when I first jumped in, I was like, I really like, there's a part of my brain that forces, I kind of just defer to hating things because there's just too many things to love.
It's because you spend so much time with Tarkov. That's why.
Well, I am embittered. I am staunchly embittered by a lot of bad games out there. But I really enjoyed it. I like how it makes me feel. It makes me feel like I'm a superhero. Like you're certainly far from invincible, but you feel like you're a superhero fighting other superheroes. Like there's no fall damage. You're flying around the map and jumping and falling, and I feel no threat from the environment. Because there's some games that make you feel really unsafe all the time, and they kind of keep you on edge. Whereas this one is kind of like
Escape from Tarkov.
Where it's like, you can, it's realistic. So you can trip and fall and get tetanus and die and stuff like that. Where it's like,
might as well.
How did I die? This is like, how you died, and you usually come away from every encounter with like something. Even if you get clapped up, you're like, I got too far from the team. I got hit by an entire three-man squad got me, or there's a lot of potential. I'm gonna say that they could easily mismanage this game, like out the door, and just nobody will ever play it.
Because this is the thing, right? It's another free-to-play, competitive, fast-paced shooter.
Right.
Like, we don't have any of those, right? And so there's no barrier to entry. There's no cost associated with it. So you just download the game, and you play it for a couple hours, and then you write a review on Steam and tank the ratings. Like, it could go any way. It would be interesting.
Yeah. No, yeah. I am interested to see, and I think I will play it. especially if you guys are playing it. It's always more fun with
Yeah.
friends. And
Well, it happens to be the case that we have a team of 3 no matter what we do. If all 3 of us try to get on and play something, if we need more than 3, we're slightly disadvantaged. And it's cool that this is a game where 3 is the maximum team size anyway, so we can't lose in terms of like having to put up with some rando or whatever. So I'm
great
stoked
point
on it. If for no other reason, I'm stoked just because it happens to fit my lifestyle, as it were. I only have a couple of friends that I can reliably do this with, and if we commit to it, then we'll actually have a good time. So
that's a great point. It evens the playing field for us because we don't have a 4th or a 5th like most games call for. That is probably the reason why I enjoyed it as much as I did, is because I felt more in control of the outcome of the match. It wasn't just some guy either sandbagging us or holding us back.
Yeah.
Even though
seriously,
even though Jake and I, when we played, just he and I, we got some sandbaggers for sure. There's some guys. There's an established meta already to this game, and everybody thinks that they own it. So I don't know, but fun game, very fun game.
We'll revisit more details about that in the future. I imagine it was something that definitely has potential, and as long as they don't bone it up, it could be a new one. So well, boys, any closing thoughts? Anything we want to kind of cover on the way out here?
I don't think so.
I don't think
That's
so.
totally fine.
I've got a couple of other handhelds on their way from the motherland, from the China land, where they all typically hail from. China. I've got some tremendous handhelds coming our way. They're great. They're the best you can get.
Well, boys, I appreciate the input. What a delightful evening. The retrospective of handhelds, the long-standing and/or upcoming competitive shooter scene that us poor Grasstouchers have to try to compete with from time to time. I'll keep you posted on that Steam Deck, baby, when it comes in.
Yeah.
You're going to get some hot and steamy, steamy pics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and hope you have a great one. Don't forget to get out there and touch some grass. We'll see you next time.